Good morning, everybody. It's Mike. It's Monday, the 29th of May. This is your week ahead video. I hope you guys are all having a great Memorial Day weekend. So we come into this week and we come into a market that is, strong, especially the Qs. We have a lot going on. So let's just kind of jump into it here. And we're going to start off with our economic data this week. And we have a lot of it coming at us. So tomorrow we have consumer confidence at 10, Dallas Fed manufacturing survey at 10:30. We have a tremendous amount of Fed speak on Wednesday. I'm not really worried about these guys here. Chicago PMI on Wednesday, and the JOLTS jobs number as well. So we got a lot going on there. Oh, beige book at 2 o'clock. Thursday, job cuts, ADP employment report, ISM manufacturing's in there, PMI manufacturing's in there. And then Friday, we have non-farm payroll. So while you're saying, oh, this is going to be a minefield to navigate, the truth is, guys, at this point, we're not seeing big movement off the data anymore. The market is now looking past the data. It's kind of had enough of this, and we're starting to move beyond it. And that is exactly what we want to see start happening. So the good news this year is we have a lot. Bad news is we have a lot of data. The good news is the market seems to be looking past it, doesn't care. For a short week, we actually have a decent amount of names for earnings. Tomorrow's nothing, but Wednesday night, CrowdStrike, Salesforce, C3 AI, Okada, Chewy's in there. On Thursday morning, you got Dollar General, Macy's, Billibee's in there as well. And then Thursday night, Zscaler, Broadcom, Lululemon, MongoDB, ChargePoint, SentinelOne, even Asana. So we actually have a bunch of names we'll be looking to play after hours and before market on Wednesday and Thursday. Nothing scheduled for Friday of note. All right, so let's talk what's going on here as the Duke is getting a little out. Futures opened up normal time yesterday, and they've been up all the time, and we're not getting much of a move. We have a debt ceiling deal. A deal has been reached between the White House and McCarthy, and everybody's saying, will this pass? Well, the new Democratic caucus, which is roughly about 180 to 100 members of the House, has already agreed they're going to support it. So if it doesn't get enough support in the Republican Party on the House, it's going to go through. The Democrats control the Senate. That'll go through, and the White House has agreed to this. This will go through. So this is now a non-issue, and we'll see how we react to this tomorrow morning. Market here shot up on this and just kind of sitting here doing a whole heck of a lot of nothing today, but in a new range. Okay. What else? The NQs have been the leader, new range high coming down. Crude remains largely out of play, but holding in. Bonds have been very weak. This has been letting rates go higher, kind of bounce a little bit here. Gold has also been just largely out of play. Bitcoin tomorrow becomes a very interesting thing to watch. We have this big move up and gap up here, and we pushed up in above 28,000. We come down below it now, or right at it here again just now. We'll keep an eye on this and how this trades here tomorrow, because if this is strong, it's going to put names like Coin and Mara and Riot back into play. All right, you take out this. What else? The VIX. The VIX here, not doing anything. The VIX will gap up tomorrow. Why? Because it gaps up every first day of the week. But, here's your risk on signature, right? We went out of the Bollinger Band. We closed back inside of it on Thursday, and here you are on Friday with the big down move. That was, again, something to watch for. HYG is not leading. It's not trading well. And the transports are also not trading well. The dollar is becoming a little bit concerning. The dollar here pushing back up into the 105 area, and I'm not trying to make a big deal out of this because the market doesn't seem to be overly reacting, but we need to pay attention to this, because if this continues to strengthen up like this, we could start to see problems creep back here into the market. All right, so let's talk about this week coming up and some things I like and areas we want to keep our eyes on and what we want to watch for. So the big part of the problem we face this week is we're coming into a market where the QQQs are just obliterated and screaming hot. If this market doesn't rotate, we're going to have problems, and I mean that. We took out the 52-week high. Look at this candle on Friday, all the way back up here to 350. You look at this and say, well, where can we go? Well, here we are, 408 is the all-time high. Can we get there this year? I'm sure we can. Should we be chasing this market here? No. The big part of the problem that the Qs have, it's being held up by about a dozen or so names, 10 to 12 names. And these names, for the most part, are screaming hot. Now, if they want to stay with their tech bias, and the market has a heavy tech bias here, then they can rotate within the Qs. If they don't, they can rotate out of the Qs. There's so many sectors in play here that can come into fruition. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's talk sentiment real quick, because I forgot to go over that with you guys. And where's my sentiment chart? There it is. Sentiment here. So the put to call back in the neutral zone. Okay, not much going on here. You know, so good that it's in our favor. It's not bulled up. We can continue to play here to the long side. Put breadth here. You got a little bit of bounce on Friday after leading down on Thursday, but this was a holiday weekend type bounce on both of these. Your advanced decline lines all flattened out or curled up a little bit with this. And the oscillators, we're at -44. We're neutral on the New York Stock Exchange, and on the NASDAQ, we're at +2. We're neutral. So breadth is very, very neutral, and that is, remains that way. The SPY is on the verge of breaking out again. Takes out the high here, it can run 421. It has a gap to fill. So don't forget that. You have this little gap sitting here at 419 and change, and it goes up to roughly 422. And 431 remains my short-term target here on the SPY, 430, 431, just for everybody who's out there playing along. So where does this leave us for this week coming in? Let's talk. If they want to rotate, the banks are absolutely ripe for rotation. The banks have been beaten up. They've been mangled. This island gap here that they put in, it has basically been mostly filled and extremely under pressure. And when the island bottom, sorry, I said island gap. Island bottom here is when you gap down, you gap up. Where you have an island top, you gap up, you gap down. And you trap everybody in the opposite direction. So everybody that went home short got screwed on this. That said, there's not a lot of names out there that look great. If you want to play the regional banks, Ally continues to look very strong, holding nicely here. I think that one can move higher. Goldman Sachs for me looks the best in breed right now. Goldman Sachs, look at this move to 322. I would put the 200 days your next target if they rotate, and then all the way up here to the 347.50 area. Morgan Stanley, nice little move. JP Morgan, meh. Citigroup's been getting pummeled again. Wells Fargo, not so bad. I prefer Goldman Sachs. It has range. It can move. SoFi is an interesting play tomorrow. Part of the debt ceiling rules here was that the people would have, students who took loans would have to start repaying them, and that's expected to happen within the next month. The $10,000 to $20,000 of debt forgiveness, they're both going to allow to go to the Supreme Court and let them decide on it. So, SoFi becomes an interesting play this week, especially if you're looking for a smaller name, and that one could pop off of that. UPST had a huge move here, came down, chilling out. If it wakes back up, takes out the 30 area, you can push back up here into the 37 area. This is a short squeeze type candidate, so just keep that in mind. Affirm also, interesting name here above the 200-day, which is dead ahead. That's another short squeeze candidate there. We talked about crypto, so we'll see how they handle this. Coin here, you have this gap sitting down here, which is yet to fill. And I don't even have an alert on here in TOS, which is bad on me. Okay, and the 50-day. Above the 50-day, this thing can rock back up to this gap at 71. We'll keep an eye on this tomorrow. Mara and Riot are safer plays. They're not caught up in the noise. We'll see what they open, but I'm assuming they're going to open somewhere around this 1070 area or higher. And the area to obviously take out is 1286. When these things wake up, they really, really wake up. So we'll keep an eye on both those names tomorrow as we go into this week if crypto wakes up. Ford had a big move on Friday, quiet little move here, up here. The 200 days, your next big area here at 1291. IBM is waking up. Nothing else to say about it other than that IBM is waking up here, and this 131 area, 132 area becomes the place to take out. And if it does, there's a 200-day it can run. It's moving up on Watson and AI. So a name to watch here as we go into this week. And if anybody that says AI, they go nuts. If you want to play a solar name, CSIQ is at this big breakout level here at 44. Above that, it can raise itself back up to 47 or even almost 48. Another nice one to watch there. What else we have? I hate DoorDash as a name. I don't like them because they're losing money on every engagement. They've been losing a lot of money, and they're going to have to raise money again at some point. That said, the chart is saying above 70, it can get really punky really quick. You have a big volume void. It can run up here to the 77 area. I would definitely keep an eye on Dash as we go into this week. Netflix broke loose late on Friday. I was already gone for the day, but a nice move here up after I left and a push up to the 383. 400 is the next level I have in mind on that one. If you go to look at a weekly chart, you'll see why. It's right at a big breakout spot. It needs to take out 380 and hold it. Okay, that covers those. Pins is another one that to me is extremely interesting here. This name did not have a good report, got beaten up on it, but it's right back at that gap. Above that gap in the 200-day, it can push back up and has a lot of room. Keep an eye on that one. I will honestly tell you, I did not think a lot of Costco's report. That said, they bought it. They bought it during market hours. That tells you a lot, by the way. When you look to see how a name reacts, here's the news after hours. It tells you that they're coming afterwards. Now, the thing to watch is make sure it doesn't pull a Target. Okay, so I'll come back to Costco in a second, but Target, here was your earnings day, and then the next day got absolutely beaten up. So make sure it doesn't. But if it takes out 510, I like it for a move to 520 and then up to the 530 level. So after all that, we come back to our mostly names. Start off with D-Dog real quick because D-Dog has a very nice flag and over 95. I like this one quite a bit. And I would keep my eyes on D-Dog this week because it's working nicely. What we're looking for in this market is the ability for them to rotate. Apple here, nice wake move here. It is not hot. It is not extended above 176.39. It has a easy shot up to the 182.94 level and all-time highs. In addition to that, it has an event on June 5th. That event is their developer conference, and sometimes it likes to run into that, and sometimes some interesting things get announced there. So we're paying attention to that one. So Apple's a great name if they want to rotate within tech. Google, Google is not as hot as or extended some of the other names above 126. I think it can run back up to 130. Just as an FYI there, Google still looks nice, 52-week high, good move there. Amazon broke out on Friday, nice move up here to 120. I like it to 124.71 and a gap fill up here to the 126 area and then eventually to 130 if it wants to go. They have yet to announce what they're doing with AI. We know they're doing something with AI. We'll continue to keep an eye on that one. Meta, this is a hard chase here for me, guys. Huge breakout here now on Friday, the 262 level. It's in this massive gap. Okay, this gap here just pushes all the way up to, all the way up to 300 area. That said, if the market keeps going, this one likely to keep grinding. This is one of the chosen names. You stay with it. Microsoft, another one of the chosen names. Huge move up here to 333. It is also approaching its all-time high at 349. Again, once it gets above 340, there's nothing left to 349. This is the chop zone to 340. Continue to stay with that. Again, hard to chase any of these names here, but they've had massive, massive moves. Anything I didn't cover on those? I covered most of the big ones there. Let's go to the semis. I don't know what to tell you about the semis other than you have to trade carefully here at this point. The size of this gap on the index itself is incredibly massive. It's not an all-time high. All-time high is 159.40. That said, chasing this up here, very difficult. AMD has gotten absolutely ahead of itself, and I love the name. You have this huge gap here. We pushed up on this gap, this big move, 2-day move on nothing they said or did. This is based solely off of NVIDIA's earnings. And you're saying to me, so why does that matter? It matters here because this is nothing what they did. Their AI chips, they're working on them. They'll be out sometime later this year, probably the second half, probably the fourth quarter is most likely what I'm thinking. And that will be a great play. But at this point, you need to let this thing cool off, get back in the Bollinger Bands, get back towards the 8-day. It's just screaming hot. We saw this with a lot of names. Avgo has earnings this week. All-time highs here. Tough to chase. Micron, huge move here on this one. Micron went all the way up here. Look at this move up into this next volume area. Basically came up, filled this gap it had there, screamed up. Great move on that one. Marvel. I never thought this as an AI play. Obviously, I was dead wrong. Huge gap and go. Close on the highs. You got to love that. But again, these things are tough chases here. So you need to think carefully before chasing any of these names this week until we see some cooling off there. And except for NVIDIA. So the reason I'm going to tell you NVIDIA is the exception. NVIDIA is the exception because that report was probably the type of report we've never seen. I'll move all the way up here to new all-time highs. They blew it out. Their AI was through the roof, but the guidance, they're guiding next quarter from 7 billion to 11 billion. That is a 50% increase in revenue guidance. That's huge. Right now, they're the only real game in town for AI chips. I think this one works its way higher. Watch that 394.80, a break of that could lead to higher. Watch a dip and a hold of the gap. Another place we could watch it. But these names all look great. So I've thrown a lot at you here, guys. I hope you all have a fabulous Memorial Day weekend. I'm putting this out there free this week. So happy Memorial Day to everybody. And if you'd like what you see, come and join us at smartoptiontrading.com. Link in the description below. I'm going to wish you all a wonderful weekend. I'll catch you guys bright and early in the room on Tuesday morning.